Welcome to the Indie PPC podcast. I am your host, Joey Bidner, and I took a little break for the last couple weeks because, to be honest, I have been neck deep in Black Friday, as I'm sure all of you are as well. It's the busiest time of year, so I had to take a couple weeks off from making the pod. Not that anybody probably noticed, but we are back here to talk about Google Ads, and today I want to talk about my Google Ads tech stack. I want to go over in particular what platforms I use to help my management process. As you know, I am an independent ads manager. I do all my own management. I don't outsource anything, but I do have a number of platforms that I use to help my management process. I use a handful of platforms for very specific things. I even use some platforms for certain clients, other platforms for other clients. I have a bit of a nerdy split on how I pick what platform for what situation. So I want to go over that today, as it can be a bit of a misleading environment where, we're promised the world from every platform, that each platform is the one and only to bring your accounts to the stratosphere. But I find choosing the right platform is about choosing it for the right purpose. And this is why I have a multitude of platforms, some of which I'm not using each to its entirety. I'll have base level subscriptions for a certain tool that I'll use on some accounts and versus others. So I'm going to go through all of that today. And I guess the best place to start in this conversation is when you should adopt a platform, because none of them are free, right? They all have a monthly subscription. And I first started using management platforms and started paying for them after I had a few accounts, right? If you're still in the realm of less than 5 accounts of management, it can be hard to justify that cost, and also hard to really have that platform be worth its weight. Because if you have a small amount of accounts, you're likely in each of those accounts every day. And one of the things that I find management platforms help with is relieving you of the time needed in each account every day. Again, I'm going to get into my workflows of each account and how they help me on having visibility in the account without actually manually digging through everything every day. But in short, again, if you manage a small amount of clients, I personally never found that a management platform will, again, make your account better. It's about relieving time it takes to do some tasks so you can manage more accounts. That's kind of my mindset on approaching platforms, is how can I alleviate myself from some of the heavy lifting. So after I broke like the 10 account threshold, once I started managing more than 10, I manage right now about 25 accounts, ranging from some accounts as small as $2,000 a month, but I manage a good number of clients over $200,000 a month, some of which spend up to $1 million a month in some cases. And because I have this split, I've got some accounts that really require more attention than others, some accounts that require me to be in that account every day, and other accounts that require less daily attention. So again, that's why I have some platforms to help me look into these accounts with the same level of granularity. So I still know what's going on in each of them at all times, but I'm not necessarily digging through the weeds of each of them at the same frequency. And I guess before I actually jump into the weeds of what platforms I use, I do want to mention that none of this is sponsored. None of these platforms are giving me even discounts to mention them. I am fully paying for all of my subscriptions, and I'm even going to refrain from leaving referral codes, because all these platforms give you a referral code to make a little bit of a kickback if someone tries their platform through your reference. I'm not even going to do that, because I don't want this to seem like there's any benefit to me in mentioning these platforms. So no referral codes, no sponsorships. This is a full, honest take on what I'm using right now. So the platform that I use the most daily, I'd say, is Optimizer. Now, I say this with a bit of a disclaimer. I do not use the full Optimizer suite, Okay. When you sign up for the full optimizer suite, their full subscription, which I started with, it's very expensive, very expensive. They charge based off of your monthly spend per account, which got crazy at one point. But I found that Optimizer, I hate to say this, but a lot of their tools are a bit antiquated. A lot of their tools are based off of a time period in management where we didn't have a lot of confidence in the algorithm, so it required a lot of manual work, like ad scheduling and time of day scheduling and audience bid adjustments and all this stuff. And Optimizer has a ton of tools to automate that. And they have a lot of automations, a lot of automation layering. But in my opinion, the more I tried to use it, the more I found it was like, oh, well, the algorithm kind of already does that. The algorithm already kind of does that. And it does have a lot of sweet tools, but for the price of their full suite, I wasn't using them all. But Optimizer kind of has this like Optimizer Lite, I call it, okay, where they have this subscription that only starts at about $250 a month, and you get two important things, one of which I use every day. So if you sign up for the Campaign Automator subscription, it just gives you access to Campaign Automator and their MCC account view. These two things I use all the time. So I'll start with the MCC account view. This is where I start every day. So the MCC account view is beautiful because it gives you an overview of all your accounts, like your Google Ads MCC, but you can also bring in Microsoft Ads. So I can see all my accounts, Google and Microsoft Ads, in one place. And the best part is I can set observation targets for each KPI that matters. Not just KPI, but each metric that matters. So for example, one of the things that you always need to monitor to prevent issues down the line is spend, right? And what's cool about this MCC view is that it's got a budget pacing alert. So you set your monthly spend, and when you look at the budget or when you look at the amount spent, let's say you're midway through the month, whatever it is, it tells you if you're pacing hot or cool, right? It'll actually change the color from green to red, and it'll tell you how much you've spent to date as a percentage of your pacing, what your daily spend should be, how much you're missing it by, and it gives you like a line chart on, oh, if you keep spending at the rate you are right now, this is the number you're going to hit. This is huge because it allows you to, at a glance, see how you're spending through the month. And when you have a large list of clients, this can be something that if you don't have your eyes on, can at the end of the month be a shocker. And if you bill your clients based off of how much they spend, if you undershoot it, you've missed your promise. And if you overshoot it, obviously you can have problems. So I love it for that. Also, though, for clicks, conversions, cost per conversion, ROAS, you can observe the 7-day trend fluctuation and how those KPIs are trending over time. Again, at a glance. And it'll give you this same kind of, you hover over the metric, it gives you a chart to see how you're trending. This is huge. Again, I start every day in my Optimizer MCC dashboard view. Now, with that, you also get Campaign Automator. Now, I use Campaign Automator for one thing, and that is DSA feed-driven campaigns, or I should say feed-driven DSA campaigns. Now, this might be something for another episode, but there is this functionality that Optimizer has. You can't do in Google Ads without them, but you basically get the ability to make a dynamic search ads campaign, but instead of using the dynamic search targets of product pages or specific website pages, it uses your product feed. So the product feed becomes the place where the campaign is pulling the data from, and it basically makes an ad group for every product. It's a game changer for e-commerce. I have it for almost all of my big accounts for really low funnel granular search ads. And those search ads are so difficult to really nail without this because as I've spoken about before, we don't want over-bloated search campaigns trying to be like shopping. But this is the hack. You can make search like shopping through this Campaign Automator. Again, that's maybe for a different discussion on a different day, but I did want to highlight this because with that low fee subscription, you get two amazing tools, and that's what I use almost every day. Okay, moving on. So my next platform is Optio. Now I use Optio specifically for my lower spending accounts. Now Optio again is also much cheaper. You know, you can get it for about $120 for I think up to like $25,000 in spend. So I use Optio for all my accounts that are like within the $2,000 to $5,000 range of monthly spend. So it's a good chunk of them. And I primarily use it for two things. I love Optio for its search term observations. So one of the things Optio does is it will send you notifications if you want it to, or just when you log in, it'll bring it right to your face. Say, these are the search terms that you need to check. Is this a search term that should be negative or maybe included as a keyword? And it basically just like pulls a lot of the anomaly search terms that you might be missing if you weren't looking at your search term report every day. And I find it's incredibly helpful to just keep an eye on this to, you know, not even necessarily take action on it, because sometimes they will just be low volume search terms, and often who cares about those. But it just gives you more insight into the search landscape of your client. But I do use it for negativing and or adding new exploratory keywords. So I really like it for that. But I will say the problem with Optio is it also is built on an antiquated form of management where when you sign up for our Optio, you really need to disable a lot of their alerts, because it's going to give you ridiculous alerts for bidding suggestions and audience bidding suggestions and all these recommendations that are frankly rendered useless now that smart bidding is where it is. So it'll tell you, oh, in this region of the suburbs of Wisconsin, your conversion rate is 10% lower, so you should consider excluding it. It's like, whoa, no, thank you. I disable all those notifications, and I strictly use it for its search term notifications. They also have some other cool ones like redundant keywords or conflicting negatives. So I've had this happen before where you get a little overzealous with your negative keywords, and maybe you didn't realize that you have a negative keyword that is conflicting with one of your keywords, and I've actually had their system catch this for me, and I totally would have missed it otherwise. So I like it for that. It also has really great automated reports. So I don't really send monthly reports. I like to keep more like direct communication with clients with videos and calls. But everyone has those specific clients that still is a bit old school and likes a PDF report. And Optio does a really great job of making these out of the box, beautiful reports where it pulls great insights. It even will build you a few like prompted things, like written insights next to these charts. And it saved me a ton of time. And actually, when I do it, I often will pull pieces of insights that I also might have missed. It has a great report function, and they look really good as well. So I do like it for reports. They do also have a great Ngram tool. I know Ngrams are free with scripts, but a lot of script Ngram tools are hard to read. So their Ngram tool is really good. For anybody not familiar with what an Ngram tool is, an Ngram analysis is when you take all your search term data and you analyze it at the individual word level. So you want to see, of all your search terms, what specific words were high performing, right? I'll give you an example. I've used this example before, but it's the perfect one. I had a client that sells patio umbrellas, right? And long tail search terms. Through an Ngram analysis, I found that search terms that had the word wind or wind resistance in them were very high converting, but not occurring as often as they could have been. And I only found this through that Ngram analysis. We then made a change to our product feed to include wind resistant in the titles. We started showing up for more wind resistant patio umbrella searches, higher conversion rates, better success. So I like Ngram analysis to show you those little pockets of opportunity, and Optio has a great Ngram analysis tool. Up next, I want to talk about one of the most important platform selections to make when managing accounts, especially larger ones, and that's platforms that help with holistic data observation. Now, when I say holistic data observation, I mean getting out of just looking at Google Ads and looking at the entire business's performance and data. So having a platform that pulls in the Shopify sales data, that pulls in Google Ads data, that pulls in Facebook data, and puts it all in one place so we can start observing how the entire business lifts and drops as you push or pull certain platforms. We all know that users do not stay in silos. If somebody finds your product through a Facebook ad, they likely are not going to convert through that Facebook ad. They're going to convert down the road once they click on a Google ad or maybe come back organically. So we can't stay in silos, and we need to observe our data holistically. Now, I have tried a number of different platforms. The first one that I usually recommend, if the budget is there, is Northbeam, though Northbeam is very expensive, like $3,000 a month per client, and it's got a lot of tools that are more impactful than just this holistic data observation, but often the price is what gets in the way, right? It's very expensive. It's got a lot of extra tools for mixed media modeling, all this stuff, and for the most part, a lot of the times I've started with it with clients, but then we've gravitated away from it. You might have heard of competitors like Triple Whale. I've never used Triple Whale simply because they have an attribution system that includes view-based modeling. Anyways, I won't get into that now. But what I'm using right now is a bit of a workaround to Northbeam, where it's much cheaper and more or less does the same thing with the goal of holistic data observation. That is AdBeacon. So AdBeacon is interesting because, one, it offers a little agency price model where you can get up to 5 clients for $700 a month, no matter the spend. So I'm using AdBeacon for my 5 largest clients. And what's great is that I can pull in all their data from any source, so from Shopify, Klaviyo, Facebook, Google Ads, and I can build these beautiful custom dashboards so I can observe this holistic movement of their success as we push and pull different platforms. Now, one thing I don't use it for is their platform attribution. They like to tote that they have this proprietary attribution. It's basically just a UTM attribution with something going on in the background that I have not really seen it be, accurate. Though that said, when you use a platform like this for attribution, it's not about it being accurate. They're all inaccurate. What matters is that you use it consistently, because if it's only accurate 50% of the time, it's always only accurate 50% of the time, and we're observing how things change over time. So if it's only 50% accurate and it goes from, let's say, a 3x ROAS to a 1x ROAS, you know that something changed at least, and it's worth investigating. But that said, I still am not a big fan of their channel attribution. But what I like is that you can just see things holistically. So you can just watch top line Shopify revenue numbers change as you change things in your marketing mix. They also are really great for tracking first time versus returning customers. So I'm always observing my NCAC, my new cost to acquire a customer. And this platform also does a great job of organizing your first party data for audience collection and use. So we can take all of our Shopify data and say, okay, make me an audience that you're going to export to Google Ads for customers that are about to churn, for my top performing customers, for customers who haven't bought in 2 years. And we can use that for remarketing. We can use that for lookalike audiences. It's got a really powerful audience builder that I love. It also does go one step further as well, and does a great job of slicing your product data. So you can, through reports, see, okay, what percentage of customers bought product B as their second purchase after buying product A, right? It gives you these really interesting tree charts that show you what products were purchased at what frequency in a customer's life cycle. It's not perfect though. It doesn't consider what is included in their cart at the time. So it can be a little misleading. But that to be said, like for the what I see is inexpensive, $700 for 5 accounts a month, I think is pretty good. You get a lot from AdBeacon. So it's definitely a platform that I'm still new to, but I would recommend as trying it. All these platforms have a free trial period. And I think that's important to leverage, right? Like try platforms, try new ways of looking at your data and seeing what can help you. I think it's important to find your workflow with third-party tools because sometimes they can work against you. I want to mention, like when I was first, for example, working with Optimizer, I don't mean to bash Optimizer, I love them, but I wasted a lot of time trying to make their tools work for me. And I was just trying to justify the cost, right? I was trying to justify the cost. I was like, okay, I got to use their full suite. And none of it really worked out for me. And I just realized, like, I'm just trying to justify this cost. So it's about really picking and choosing what fits into your workflow to answer a question or solve a problem you have, right? So I use Optimizer because I want that MCC dashboard. I want a dashboard that I can track these KPIs. I use Optio because I need eyes on my smaller accounts. I use AdBeacon because I need holistic data observation for my big accounts. So that's more or less my platform mix. And I hope it helps open up your eyes a bit on being willing to try platforms and know that there's not one just ready in the box solution that's going to make you the perfect ads manager. So up next, I actually want to talk about a tool that I built with somebody using these automation workflow platforms. So there's one tool that I really wished one of these platforms did well. And it comes from this problem that I have where I often will make a change in an account. Let's say it's big or small. It could be a bidding change, or it could be addition of a keyword that I want to monitor. But when you manage a lot of accounts, full transparency here, to be honest, sometimes I will forget I made that change. And I'll do everything in my power to try to remember to check the results of that change in a couple weeks. I'll go to my Google Ads, I'll go to my calendar, I'll make a reminder, or I'll do, the note annotation in the campaign timeline. But, things still get away from me. And I've always wanted a tool that I could just easily, like with the click of a couple buttons, say, okay, here's an account that on this day I made this change. These are the notes I have for it. In 2 weeks, show me the comparative results on this KPI and send me an email to put it in my face. And that is what we built with, I did it with this a guy named Dan 10. He's on LinkedIn. You can find him there. And he does a lot of these, like, I'm going to butcher the exact terminology for his field, but it's using automation to create these, I think they call them flows. I don't know. But basically he built the tool for me, and he actually offers this as a service where he builds tools for people using automation to answer questions. And I believe if you did want to use this, you could reach out to them, and he has it like ready built for others now. But he came to me he asked me like, hey, what's a problem you have that I can fix? And this was it. And it works really well. It's I've got this really easy dashboard that I just have like bookmarked, and it's connected to all my Google Ads accounts. I select the account, I mark the date, I add a note, and I mark the KPIs, and I give it a frequency. Okay, let me know in 2 weeks, a month, what the comparative data is before and after, and it'll tell me if the experiment was a success or a failure based off of the data. And just the notification alone is worth its weight in gold, let alone it actually gives me the data that I want to see. So reach out to Dan if you want to give it a try. But man, I hope that one day Optimizer, Optio, AdBeacon, they do something like this. Now I know Optimizer has a version, but it's like freaking complicated. It's like, they don't make it like an easy UI where it's like in 2 seconds I set this thing up. That's what it needs to be. It's like with Optimizer, you have to understand the logic of the rules they make. You have to have a PhD in this platform to get it. Whereas in the version I made with Dan, it's just a couple drop down windows, a date selector, you're done. So that's what I like. Outside that, being that this is a bit of a show for freelancers or independent managers, I want to mention what I use for invoicing. I use Xero. I know QuickBooks is kind of the go-to solution, but I don't know. I always just had a lot of problems with QuickBooks. I use Xero. It's really cheap. It's really good for international currencies. Xero is the platform I use for invoicing and bookkeeping. In the last portion of the show, I always like to mention an interesting article, video, piece of news that I read, as I'm always trying to learn more and always have my ear to the ground to other great channels. And I have two important videos that I want to bring up that just kind of piqued my interest. First is from one of my favorite channels for feed management stuff. Whenever I have a problem for product feed management, or I want to learn something new about product feeds, I go to Feed Army. It's a YouTube channel, and it's very technical, right? It's less about theory and management strategy. It's more technical knowledge of here's how you do this, right? And the folks at Feed Army recently posted a video this week about a new Merchant Center UI edition for shipping cutoffs. Now, with holiday here, shipping cutoffs are huge, right? The last thing you want is to get a click after your shipping cutoff to get somebody a product in time for the holidays, because it just often results in a bounce once they click your ad and see, oh, I'm not going to get this in time. And it's tricky because you don't want to necessarily stop advertising, but you do want to let people know if they're going to get a certain product by a certain time. And according to Feed Army, they recently leveled up the Merchant Center UI to set these shipping cutoffs. So I'm going to let the videos do more of the talking. The part of this segment is to let you know, like, go listen to this video. I'm not going to recant what they said, but I just wanted to mention this as it's very timely, and I'm definitely going to be implementing a lot of these things, especially now that it's easier to do in the UI. So go check out Feed Army. I'm going to put the link in the show notes for the video. And lastly, I want to mention another video from one of my favorite thought leaders, Andrew Lolk. Now, this is in contrast to Feed Army's more technical video. Andrew talks a lot about strategy and methodologies. I've seen him speak at conferences. He's one of the big thought leaders in the space, and he's always very concise, honest, straight to the point. One of my favorites to listen to. And he just released a video that finally clearly explained to me this new smart bidding exploration tool. And it opened my eyes to understanding how it can actually be useful. When I first saw smart bidding exploration, my knee-jerk reaction was, oh, this is just going to be an opportunity for Google to have control over our bidding thresholds and give reason to bid more because of because of missed opportunities, and similar to like what audience expansion does. But Andrew really breaks down how this is a lot deeper than that. And he talks about, I'm going to summarize this one because I want to give my take on it because I did find it fascinating. Andrew talks about how bidding exploration does the same thing as reducing our target ROAS when we want the algorithm to learn, when we want the algorithm to be a bit more exploratory. So previously, or up until this point, if you've listened to me for a while, I'm always for not setting super high target ROAS goals. I like to have my TROAS goals low in order for the algorithm to be able to test and experiment. Now, the way that Andrew breaks this down is smart bidding exploration gives you the ability for a certain period of time to give the algorithm that leeway without necessarily dropping your TROAS goal. And he breaks it down with great use cases. He breaks it down with things to be aware of, when to use it, when not to. And I just thought it was interesting to think about it in that context of, yeah, like there's often times of the year where I intentionally lower my target ROAS or increase my CPA in order to let the algorithm reach out a bit further. But now Google's just built a tool for that. And I just thought it was a really great breakdown. So I want to recommend everybody to go obviously follow Andrew, but also to check out this video and maybe give bidding exploration a try. I am definitely going to give it a try after holiday, though. I'm not really trying anything new and risky before or during Black Friday or Christmas or any of that stuff. So come the new year, I'm definitely going to try smart bidding exploration. All right, so that's it from me today. If anybody has a question they ever want answered on the show, I love digging into accounts and talking about specific use cases. So leave a comment in the YouTube video or send me an email at info@joeybidner.com. All right, I'll see you next time.